everyone, my name is Lily, and in this video I will be reflecting and summarising my own work towards a project which aims to reinforce the rhetoric of a chosen game. I will be summarising the main points and then breaking it all down. In this essay, I will be discussing and talking about my work process, including what drove my inspiration and the outcome of my ideas, and how my final outcome reinforced the rhetoric of my chosen game. I will also talk and focus on some of the key theories taught in class, and talk about how they are relevant to the game. So, what is the game I have chosen? The game I have chosen is a game called McDonald's the Video Game. In the game, the player's job is running the entirety of McDonald's. This includes each sector, which means a restaurant, growing crops, looking after cattle, and the corporate side of things. You need to make sure you don't go bankrupt, or you lose the game. Speaking from personal experience, it is a very hard game and difficult to not go bankrupt. The game is notoriously known for the ability to make inhumane choices, and at some point, even if the player tries to avoid it, will have to eventually make an unfriendly decision to be able to beat the game. In the game, you are presented with 4 buttons representing each sector. You have the option of running a restaurant where you need to keep employees happy and make sure there is a steady stream of supplies. If the employees become unhappy, it will cause protests, so you can either fire them or give them Employee of the Week. You have the option of running the agricultural side of it, where you need to raise cattle and grow crops. However, to do this, you need land, and to get land, it comes at the price of cutting down and destroying a rainforest. You can also genetically modify the crops and can use more aggressive pesticides to minimize pest damage. You have the option to look after the cattle, which will be made into burgers. This will give the restaurants a steady supply of beef. In another sector, you need to look after the cattle. The cows will be slaughtered once they are fat enough. However, if cows become sick or ridden with mad cow disease, you need to kill them to keep the food safe and stop it from infecting other cows. You can also feed cows chemicals and hormones to fatten them up, but it risks consumers' health but saves time and money. Lastly, the player sometimes feeds the cows with a mix of fodder made from animal remains, being cows. Then there is the last section, which represents the headquarters. There, you can make decisions that will save money and deter protesters. So what did I create to reinforce the game's rhetoric? I thought and brainstormed a lot about what I could create, and if I should have undermined or reinforced the rhetoric. But after analysing the game, I thought about how it already challenges the idea of fast food and how bad choices can be made, especially when running a business. So I decided I would create a work in the form of art which reinforces Pedicini's arguments and views to respond to the idea behind the game. Initially, I wanted to create a comic strip. I wanted it to be really long and informative. However, I thought that it was a very time-consuming process, considering that I am a very indecisive person. So I decided that I would stay with the same process but create a 2 short panel strip instead. I mainly wanted to do this to create a comparison between the good side and bad side of things that people don't typically look at, which is done in the game. I created my comic strips about each sector in the game. This strip shows a girl who works at McDonald's, and she eventually gets frustrated at a customer as the customer cannot decide on what to order. However, she cannot vent out her frustrations to a customer, which leads her to hold back. This causes a lot of stress overall on employees, and as someone who has worked at McDonald's before, I can speak on behalf of most of the employees that they feel this way. I created this with the fact that fast food employees are pressured by managers to fit everything within a certain time limit, and I believe this strip helps the viewers to understand that. This ties in with the restaurant sector of the game and how employees can become unhappy. In the next strip, it features the headquarters making a decision on what to do with this employee, who's vented her frustration to her managers. It shadows the game in how they say we can fire her or give her Employee of the Week, but eventually gives her Employee of the Week, as they can't afford to lose another employee. To an employee though, Employee of the Week just serves like a plaster on a massive wound. It doesn't actually do anything to help. However, as demonstrated through the game, it is a cheap and affordable option for the company. In this strip, I created a comparison between cows, with one being skinny and one being fattened up after eating a burger. This struck a chord within myself because it makes me sad to see animals suffer and go hungry. I made the skinny version of the cow say how he could eat a cow. Then the next panel shows how he is eating a beef burger. The reason I made this was to highlight the outbreak of mad cow disease in the 80s and 90s, which was spread due to cattle being fed infected cattle remains, which is shown in the game. I intended to create this as a semiotic, which relates to how this sector in the game introduces cannibalism to fatten up their cows at a cheaper price. And in this last strip, it focuses on the agricultural part of the game and how they cut down their rainforests to make room for cattle at the expense of deforestation and destroying animal habitats. It makes me really sad when I hear this, as I have a big love for animals and nature, but even in the game and real life, money will run out if you have nowhere to raise cattle, which provides the staple of the business. It shows how, even though one can feel compassion for nature, running a business is very difficult, and sometimes you need to stoop down to new lows to be able to keep it afloat. So, how did this relate to the theories discussed in class? Well, the game is a satirical game. It highlights Pedicini's arguments against traditional societal and cultural views. To be precise, it takes a form of satire called Menippean satire. This is because the game critiques cultures, attitudes, and ideas more than it does individuals. The reason that I believe this is because the game is a parody of McDonald's. Pedicini makes a few judgments throughout this game, which constitutes for not only McDonald's, but the fast food industry as a whole. It is a big metaphor which helps in bringing unethical issues to the spotlight. This is a form of semiotic, and is a syntagmatic relation for the unethical issues as a whole in fast food production. The game has a negotiated reception theory. The players know it is just satire, but it can upset players as it highlights issues that happen in real life. An example of this would be in a review of the game where one player mentioned, "Now for those of you who are activists for either rainforests or animals, then this game probably isn't the best for you," which emphasizes the fact that these issues are not right and change needs to happen. In an interview with Pedicini, he says how he thinks people are clever enough to understand that this is not a unique critic of McDonald's. McDonald's is just being used as a symbol for the whole fast food industry and the whole meat industry. We choose the brand McDonald's only to show that the game is dealing with something that is real and that is related to our everyday life. The game is also a form of culture jamming. Culture jamming is the practice of disrupting flow of normal everyday life with surprising satirical artworks. It also explores the anti-advergame culture, which are games that disobey the message of promoting brands and organisations. In conclusion, what I have learnt from this is I have taken this opportunity to develop my own style. I have developed my own painterly style, which I am really fond of. I have learnt different theories in what goes into making a game, and how different ideas correlate to each theory. I can understand that by incorporating and working with the theories, one can make a game with a good and clear message. That is all, and I hope you enjoyed my reflection of my outcome today. See you next time.